The deaths of Gene Hackman and Michelle Trachtenberg were ritual sacrifices coded by the number 8. Interestingly, Michelle's long-term boyfriend, Jay Cohen, received a kidney transplant 24 years ago. Jay was 38 years old at the time of his kidney transplant. Michelle was 38 at the time of her liver transplant last year. I mean, it's kind of strange for people in their late 30s. He received a kidney, she received a liver. And looking at Michelle's Instagram account, I feel like she knew she was gonna die soon, hence all the throwback captions for old pictures. And according to her own Instagram comments, she didn't have any health issues. And, Gene Hackman was born on January 30, 1930, which adds up to 8 in numerology. Michelle was born on October 11, 1985, which also adds up to 8 in numerology. And Gene Hackman died on February 17. The day itself, 1 plus 7, is 8 in numerology. Michelle died on February 26. The day itself, 2 plus 6, is 8 in numerology. And they discovered Michelle's dead body at 8 a.m. They always have to, include the 8. In numerology, the number 8 represents the balance between the material and the spiritual domains, between the materialistic world and the spiritual world. The number 8 is ruled by the planet Saturn, and because of that, it represents karma, structure, discipline, responsibility, as well as wealth and success. All of these Saturnian themes, authority, ambition, perseverance, hard work. And obviously, the number 8 represents the infinity symbol of reincarnation. We know that Saturn rules time and karma, it rules reincarnation. And obviously that's also the snake eating its own tail, the Ouroboros, and we're in the year of the snake right now. And the number 8 is also connected to the X symbol, aka the Christian cross. We have to remember that numbers are also symbols. The Christian cross, the X, is symbolic for the 4 Messiah tribes, and the double cross symbolizes the 8 Messiahs individually. And obviously, the 4 Messiah tribes, symbolized by the Christian cross, are also accounted for within the symbolism of the number 8. Interestingly, Michelle Trachtenberg's middle name was Kristen, which is derived from the Greek word Christos, meaning the anointed one. And, obviously anointed means chosen or declared chosen by God, with an ending borrowed from Latin to denote slave ownership. And obviously Kristen is not a common Jewish name whatsoever. It's not a common Jewish name or even middle name, Even though Michelle was 100% Jewish, Her mother was a Russian Jewish bank manager, and her dad, Michael, was a fiber optics manager who's related to Stephen Joel Trachtenberg, the 15th president of JWU, He was part of the academic elite. And Michelle's grandparents live in Israel. Trachtenberg is a very prominent Jewish family. And her family refused an autopsy for religious reasons. They don't appear to be that religious. Michelle started working in the entertainment industry at the age of 3. And according to her own interviews, she had a very sheltered life in Brooklyn, NYC. And she was close friends with Princess Eugenie. Princess Eugenie from the British royal family, who she met in NYC at an art auction. So, Michelle was obviously a well-connected Jewish woman from NYC. Netflix's latest anime show, Time Patrol Bond, has an entire episode centered around human sacrifice on Crete in ancient times. Apparently, Athens aristocrats considered human sacrifice the highest honor. Michelle was an aristocrat of some sort. She was part of the NYC elite. And in the episode, we are told that the Minotaur bull was like a god, And we know that the Minotaur bull represents the Yahweh, the Jewish god. According to Greek mythology, the Minotaur was the grandchild of Helios, the sun god. The Minotaur bull even has the 8 symbol. So, it's all connected. And obviously, let's not forget that Michelle comes from the Ashkenazi bloodline, which probably originates from the Phoenicians, And we know that the Phoenicians did sacrifice their humans for the Minotaur bull, for Yahweh. And even Michelle's long-term boyfriend comes from the same bloodline. So, did they sacrifice their own flesh and blood? I think they did. They don't just sacrifice Palestinian blood. And we know that New York is sacrificial ground. Crater Earth on Rumble has an entire episode talking about, human sacrifice in Gaza and New York. They're both sacrificial grounds. And, according to the media, Michelle was found by her mother at 8 a.m. at her apartment at the 51-story 1 Columbus Place, just around the corner from Central Park and Columbus Circle. And recently, Iran released a French citizen imprisoned for more than 880 days, which is 88 in numerology. And the 88 also represents the analemma. And it's connected to portals, to the 9/11 ritual, as well as time travel. And Michelle played Dawn the Key in Buffy. So she was a portal herself. She played a portal. And you guys have to remember that Michelle and Gene Hackman were actors. They played roles and faked stuff for a living. Obviously, a fake death that you speculate about upsets your peace of mind just as much as a real one. It creates loosh, it generates energy. And the archons are always desperately yearning for our energy, It's all about energy harvesting. It's all about loosh. In the movie Society, they show us how they fake official deaths. They claim that it was just all natural and everything, so no one investigates, and then they sacrifice them during an official ritual. And, Michelle's mother didn't want an autopsy because, perhaps because there was no body to do one on, You guys don't even know what they probably did to her body, all sorts of weird, vile stuff. Those occult rituals are incredibly, incredibly vile. Her body was probably so defaced that there was nothing left, In Michelle's own words, verbatim, this is all make-believe, but it's my job to make them believe. Also, I love unicorns. She's basically telling us that this is all fake, this is all staged.